So, when we left Christ last week, he was kind of in a delicate situation. This is kind of a continuation. See, I didn't even start with a joke, did I? When we left Christ last week, he was kind of in a delicate situation. He went and he prayed. He prayed so intensely that he sweated blood. Or he said his sweat became like drops of blood. And he came back to his disciples and he said, all right, you can't even stay awake for an hour. That's okay. Time has come. I'm going to paraphrase, and then we're going to go back to the Bible and I'm going to prove to you I know what I'm talking about. So here comes this group of folks led by none other than one of his disciples, Judas. Judas Iscariot. And he walked up, and the Bible says that Judas kissed him. Because he made that was the sign. When I give a kiss to, that's the one you're going to take. So Judas walked up and kissed him. And then they went to grab it. Now, in the book of John, they come up to him and Christ come out to meet him. Okay, he wasn't running, he come to meet him. He said, who are you looking for? I said, Jesus Christ. He said, I am he, and they all fell back. Think about this. All he said was, I am he. And it brought them to their knees. And again he said, who are you? Who did you come for? And they said, Jesus. Said, I'm he. What do you want? I have been in the synagogues all week long, preaching and teaching. Yeah, you come to me in the dark of night? Did a little research on this. This whole thing about from the arrest to the crucifixion was all a kangaroo court. What that means, I don't know, but it wasn't legal. How about that? First of all, under the Jewish law, you weren't supposed to arrest people at night. You know, if you serve a warrant, basically what they're doing, you do it during the day, during the light of day. You weren't supposed to hold trials at night. The guy was supposed to have a defense attorney. He went through 6 trials. Yeah, I think 6 trials. I'm still counting in my head just a minute. I might be wrong on that. But he went through a lot of them. And you're only supposed to have one on the Jewish side and one in the Roman side then. So here we go. They come to him at night. They arrest him. Now they had clubs and weapons and torture. They arrest him. And they take him to, men, I so am tempted to torture this name, Annas. You giggle because I did the same thing when I read it a long time ago. I'm like, I could really mess this name up. So they took him to Annas, the father-in-law of the chief priest. Why did they take him to him? He had no dog in this hunt. But last year he was the chief priest, and the Romans kicked him out and put somebody else in charge. Put his son-in-law in charge. Now, they keep coming to him. It's kind of like, remember Judge Roy Bean? He wasn't no judge, but they still brought people to him. Why did they do that? Because he was still a facade in charge there. So they come to him first. And he interrogates Jesus. No defense. He interrogates Jesus. After he gets through saying what he has to say, they send him to the son-in-law Caiaphas. Then Caiaphas interrogates him. No defense. Just one-on-one, he interrogates him. And then the whole Sanhedrin. He brings all his buddies in there. Then he interrogates him again. And this time, which by law, all the evidence is heard. They have witnesses. Supposedly the unfabricated witnesses. This time they were fabricated. But that's okay. They had what was supposed to happen from the youngest to the oldest they were supposed to cast a vote. What happened here? Caiaphas says, we don't need to hear anything else from this guy, do we? Everybody agree? By this time, it's daybreak. They box him up, take him to Pilate, who's the governor of the place. So Pilate, he's like, he really doesn't want to do this. Now Pilate's on thin ice anyway, because he's already had a few rebellions in Jerusalem there, and he's like, I think Caesar said, you do this again, Jack, and you're going to be missing a head. So he's like walking on thin ice. Well, here they bring this guy up. Okay, remember, they arrested him for what? Blasphemy, right? That was the whole thing. He claimed to be Christ, the Son of God. They arrested him for blasphemy, and they take him to Pilate. Pilate says, what's he done wrong? See, cogs are turning. Well, if he wasn't a criminal, we wouldn't have brought him, right? Okay, so they said, he claims to be Jesus Christ, a king. He said, well, take him and try him. Do what y'all want. They said, we can't put him to death. He said, well, I find no fault in this man. They said, he claims to be a king, and he's stirring up people here in Galilee. He started in Galilee and stirring up people. He said, oh, wait a minute. Galilee? Oh, you're in the wrong court. See, that Galilee court, down the hall to the left. Go down there, and there's Herod. So it goes down, see Herod, who's excited because he heard about Jesus. Oh man, I got to see some tricks. This guy's a magician. He does fun things, Like makes people with no legs walk and stuff. This is cool. We're going to watch this. Christ says nothing. Which, by the way, is his right. Even back then, you had the right to remain silent. And he did. Goes through the whole thing. Herod questions him, and then they start making fun of him. Oh, you're a king? They put a nice scarlet purple robe on him, which is a king's robe. Go back to Pilate. This guy's a lunatic. So Pilate is eating breakfast by now, going, man, I'm glad that's over. And as he's taking a bite of his Cheerios, he looks out the window, and here comes Jesus back dressed in the king's robe. Now he's got indigestion. Now he has to go back out here. And he goes out and he says, yes, I'm ad-libbing, okay? They didn't have Cheerios back then. And he goes out there and he says, what's going on? I said, this guy is guilty of the insurrection, raising up stuff against Caesar. He's trying to start a rebellion. Pilate does not want to do this, all right? Say, all right, come on, Jesus, talk to me. Now, at one time, Pilate says, why are you not answering me? Do you not realize I have the power to take your life? Then Jesus answers, you have no power over me, except that given to you from above. That's profound. You cannot kill me. And earlier, when Christ was talking, he said, no one takes my life, but I give it freely. So he flat out told Pilate, dude, you can't do this without my permission. A little earlier, when they arrested him, in one of the Gospels it talks about Peter cutting an ear off of the high priest's servant. Jesus heals his ear and says, put the sword up. Do you not think that if with a word my Father would dispatch 12 legions of angels to help me? That's a considerable amount of angels. And they were probably better at fighting than the Roman soldiers. So I'm saying that's a pretty fair patch of folks there. So here he is. He's telling Pilate, you can't harm me unless I give you permission. Pilate really doesn't want to do this. Light bulb goes off. I have Barabbas, who was guilty of murder, insurrection, all this good stuff, and I'll just give them a choice between the two. All right, y'all want Osama bin Laden or Jesus? You know? And they're like, okay, give us Osama. That's about what it would be like. Yeah, we want Barabbas. Give us Barabbas. Crucify Jesus. The Bible says Pilate took a basin, washed his hands. He said, I've washed my hands of this. During this time, Pilate had him beaten. During this time, the Herod and his guys had beat on him. The Sanhedrin covered his head and beat up on him, mocking him, saying, hey, if you're the Christ, tell me who hit you. So he's been beaten. He turns him over to the soldiers. What do? They also beat him. They take him and they said, you're a king, huh? So let's make you a crown. They took, I can't remember the name of the plant that they had, but what I'm looking at is honey locust. Y'all know a honey locust tree? Kind of got thorns. It's like 6 inches long. Looks like a little sword because it's got thorns on the side. I used to call them claymores. I used to cut them off and put them on my army guys as claymores. Anyway, so it had long thorns. And they make a crown out of it and they shove it down on his head. Now, I was clearing fence row here last week, and I pulled a couple of saplings down inadvertently on my back. I cannot even imagine somebody shoving them rascals down on my head, because I was crying like a little girl just about when them rascals fell on me. All the women are going, please, really? I saw the look. Right over here, I saw her when I said, I was crying like a little girl. She went. So, seriously, when they hit me, that rascal hurt now. But I can imagine shoving it down on his head. And then they had flogged him. They flogged him so bad you could not recognize him. Think about that. A flog, by the way, more research. They take, everybody's seen a quirt. It's a little piece of rawhide like this, and it's got 3 little flappers on the end. It's what you use on a horse. Well, this was kind of like that. It had a handle, braided leather handle, and then it had 9 tails that came out. And on the end of that, they would tie pieces of glass or bone or bronze or whatever they had. And with every slap, it would flay skin from your hide. I mean, just all you see is meat. I want you to think about this. It's graphic, but I want you to think about this. They tore his flesh from his bones when they whipped him. That's why in the Garden of Gethsemane he said, if possible, let this cup pass from me, because I know it's going to hurt. They peeled his flesh off. They shoved a crown of thorns on his head. They beat him with their fists. And if that wasn't bad enough, they take his clothes and they gave him just something to wrap his private parts up with. He came out of this world like he was born, just in little rags. Stretched him out, nailed him on a cross, and let him die. Now, all of this, I want you to remember something. No one takes my life, but I give it freely. You have no power over me except that it was given to you from above. And hanging on the cross, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Father, forgive them. He was a sacrifice for us. He went with an obedient spirit and sacrificed everything. He had nothing left. no energy, no dignity, no clothes, no pride, nothing. Everything given for us. Let's go back in time to the first recorded sacrifice. That's in the 6th chapter of Genesis, Cain and Abel. Cain brought some of the fruits from his garden and sacrificed to the Lord. Abel, who was a shepherd, he brought some of the fatty parts of the first, the first lambs, the first fruits. God looked on favor at Abel, and he did not like what Cain gave. Why? Oh man, yeah, I gotta give something to God here. Oh, man, I got a quarter of diamond penny. I'm gonna give the penny. No, I might as well give the quarter. That's not an offering. That's a duty. That's like paying taxes. Tax? What? This is real this season. I got a lot of looks out of that one. Nobody likes paying taxes. But we do it because it's what we got to do. Hold it out of my check every month. And do I ever see it back? No. Why not? Because that's what the government has to use to run. That's what they're paying our troops with. Honestly, I don't mind paying taxes. But look at it again. Cain gave some of the fruits from his garden. Abel gave first of himself, and then he thought of God and gave the best part. Now, if you were going to sell something back then, if you were going to sell something, you wanted to sell the fattiest meat you could get. We went to a goat show yesterday, and let me tell you something. The ones that got chosen had some poundage on them. They like the fluffy ones. All right? Am I lying? So here's what we do. We give God first, and then see what He does and blesses us. So Christ, and I'm still going back to this because I want you to understand the magnitude of this. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Then He said, let us make man in our image. Christ was there. It was the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, a Trinity, all three in one person. Christ was there. Christ was in heaven. Christ is God in flesh. He came from heaven to earth, lived among us, poor, I'm sure hungry at times, lived in all the wallow that we live in now, all the junk we have to put up with, all the temptations we have to put up with. He lived in it. And then He gave everything. Everything as a sacrifice. What did He pray? Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. But not my will, but yours be done. There are two parts to this. Obedience, sacrifice. What did He tell the Pharisees? Go and figure out what this means. God desires mercy more than sacrifice. Christ could have said, I don't want to do it, period. Let these rascals fend for themselves. He could have done that. While he was being arrested, He could have said, enough. And they couldn't have touched Him. while he was hanging on the cross, and I don't know this, I've said this 100 times up here probably, I don't know this for a fact, but I can imagine this, while he was hanging on the cross, there was angels above every person on the earth saying, say the word, we'll start over. We'll start brand spanking new with a new Adam and Eve. Father, forgive them. Don't know what they're doing. He had mercy on us. He loved us. And He sacrificed everything for us. Now, the pain He went through, I can't imagine a more excruciating pain than those little receiver hitches that stick out from the truck and you're trying to run around it and you meet it with your shin. Yeah. I can't even imagine that. And then what Christ went through? I think I'll stick with the trailer hitch and the shin bones. Everything was given. Everything. What was Christ blessed with? He gave, I keep saying this, everything. Everything. What was Christ blessed with? Everything in return. Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes into the Father but through me. He was given everything in return. When we come to Christ, and we have Him intercede to the Father for us, and say, I want you in my heart. I want you to lead me. I want you to be the one that brings me up into heaven. When I leave this earth, I want to be with you. And everybody says, you're always talking about death. No, I'm not. As Gus McCrae would say, it ain't dying. I'm talking about Woodrow, it's living. Because I don't plan on dying. I plan on living forever. For an eternity in the arms of my Savior. Everything. I said I'd go back to the Bible. I'll look at John right here. So I can get over here. Because this is just the first one I opened to. But Jesus was arrested. This is John 18. Sorry, John 18. When he had finished praying, Jesus left with his disciples and crossed the Kidron Valley. On the other side, there was an olive grove. He and his disciples went to it. Now Judas, who had betrayed him, knew of the place because Jesus had often met with him there, with his disciples. So Judas came to the grove, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen to him, went out and asked them, "Who do you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said, and Judas the traitor was standing there with them. When Jesus said, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. Again he asked them, "Who is it you want?" They said, "Jesus of Nazareth." "I've told you that I am he," Jesus answered. "If you're looking for me, then let these men go." This happened so that the words had been spoken would be fulfilled. "I have not lost one of those you've given me." Now Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus commanded Peter, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink of the cup my Father has given me?" And the detachment of soldiers with its commanders and the Jewish officials arrested Jesus. They bound him and they brought him first to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who advised the Jews that it would be good for one man to die for the people. And then back down in 19, meanwhile the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. "I've spoken openly to the world," Jesus replied. "I've always taught in the synagogues or at the temple, where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret." I turned too many pages. "I said nothing in secret. Why question me? Ask those who heard me. Surely they know what I said." That was Jesus saying, "Hey, where are the witnesses?" When Jesus said this, one of the officials nearby struck him in the face. "Is this the way you answer the high priest?" he demanded. "If I said something wrong," Jesus replied, "testify as to what is wrong. But if I spoke the truth, why did you strike me?" And Annas has had him still bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now, Caiaphas did the same thing, talked to him, condemned him. It goes down to Pilate. The Jews led Jesus from Caiaphas to the place of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning. To avoid ceremonial uncleanness, the Jews did not enter the palace. They wanted to be able to eat Passover. So Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man?" "If he were not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him to you." Pilate said, "Take him to yourselves and judge him by your own law." "But we have no right to execute anyone," the Jews objected. This happened so that the words Jesus had spoken indicating the kind of death he was going to die would be fulfilled. Pilate then went back inside, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews? Is this your idea?" Jesus asked, "Or did the others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. It was your people and your chief priests who handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" What did Jesus say? "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jews. But my kingdom is from another place." "Are you a king then?" said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You are right in saying I'm a king. For in fact, this is the reason I was born. For this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of the truth listens to me." I'm going to go on down through here, though. Pilate and Christ talking to each other. Sorry. I'm going down to to 13. When Pilate heard this, he brought Jesus out and sat him down on the judge's seat at a place known as the stone pavement, which in Arabic is, I'm not going to pronounce that. It was the day of preparation of Passover week, about the 6th hour. "Here is your king," Pilate said to the Jews. They shouted, take him away, crucify him." "Shall I crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the chief priests answered. Finally, Pilate handed him over to be crucified. So the soldiers took charge of Jesus. Carrying his own cross, he went up to the place of the skull, in which is Golgotha. There they crucified him with 2 others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle. Pilate had a notice prepared for the fact and fastened to the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this sign, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and the sign was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. Chief priests and the Jews protested to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews, but that this man claimed to be King of the Jews." Pilate answers, "What I have written, I have written." Soldiers crucified Jesus, took his clothes, and divided him into 4 shares. Remember that? He took his clothes away from him, with the undergarments remaining. His garment was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. "Let's not tear it," they said, for one another. "Let's decide by lot which one gets it." Keeps on going down. And this is in 28. Later, knowing that all was now completed, and so that the scripture would be fulfilled, Jesus said, I am thirsty. A jar of wine vinegar was there, so they soaked a sponge in it, put the sponge to the stalk of hyssop plant, and lifted it to Jesus' lips. When he received the drink, Jesus said, it is finished. And with that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. That was a quick review of what I said earlier. I want you to remember, when he had suffered enough, he gave up his spirit. No one takes my life, but I give it freely. He was a willing sacrifice. Willing sacrifice, giving up everything and gaining everything. A long time ago, I remember Dad was talking to someone, and I just happened to be around. And Dad said, this man was talking about all the stuff he had. Dad said, well, I don't have anything. He said, God owns everything that I've run around with. He said, the only thing that's actually mine is my free will, and I gave that up to him a long time ago. So that is giving up everything. Now for us, we talk about having to pay the bills and I want to buy land and go, and that is great. But in order for you to give up everything, I'm not saying sell everything you got and give to the church, but everything that you own is only your will, only your desire. You want to give up everything? Give that to God. You want to give up everything you own? Give up your free will. Follow Christ. Follow Him right on into heaven. How do we do this? Simple. It's just a simple prayer. It's a relationship started between you and God through Jesus Christ. Follow me in this prayer. Lord, I come to you asking forgiveness for I've fallen short. Lord, I ask you, Lord, to empty out the sin that's in my heart. Fill me up with your Holy Spirit. Lord, I pray that you just wash me as white as snow. Lord, that when I'm walking through this world, you're the barrier between me and this world. Lord, and when I'm through here, and it's time to keep on living, that you walk with me right on into heaven. Open your arms and welcome me in. Lord, I ask these things in your Son's holy name. Amen. Now listen, I went through a lot of stuff. But the most important thing that I said today is that you need to start a relationship with Jesus Christ, with God through Jesus Christ.